Jason De Loach, the winemaker and close friend of mine at Hook Ladder Winery, and we are tasting, Jacques and I are very excited. Oh, and also I'm with Jacques. Jacques Brix, our industry analyst, and we are tasting the first 2019 Chardonnay of the year for both of us.
19, wow.
And welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Wow. Wow, okay, here it is, the 2019 Russian River Valley Chardonnay. And you may have noticed that Jason does have the last name De Loach, and so you are from a family that was very instrumental in the development of Russian River Valley.
Yes.
I say Sonoma County in general, but Russian River Valley in particular.
Absolutely.
So, Jason's grandfather, Cecil De Loach, started, when did he start? Was it in the 70s?
Yeah, De Loach Vineyards, he started that in the early 70s.
So it was a long time ago,
Almost half a century ago.
I know. And at one point in time, I think he was one of the largest landowners in Sonoma County.
Yeah, we definitely we had a lot of vineyards through the peak of De Loach Vineyards.
So so basically, your family had De Loach. It got large, and I know that the family, you wanted to get smaller again, and so they sort of resold De Loach to Jean Charles and the name and the brand, and now they have Hook and Ladder. And Hook and Ladder is a fire term, correct? Cecil was a firefighter.
Yeah, so my grandpa, he's a retired San Francisco firefighter, and so after selling the De Loach brand, he moved his operation down the road where our ranch operations originally existed, and turned that property into a functioning winery, and then he named it Hook and Ladder Winery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's after his time as a San Francisco firefighter.
Wow. Well, I'm a huge fan of the wines, and for years I've been buying fruit from Hook and Ladder as well. So Jason is a farmer and a winemaker, which is a lot of work, but let's not worry about that right now. I have had the pleasure of learning more about Jason when I researched his background to get ready for this show a little bit. And you really, really have some interesting things that you do. Evidently, you have a pilot's license. So
That's right.
you're the only winemaker I know with a pilot's license.
Yeah, so my family...
do you see the photo?
Yeah, that's Lucas and I, my son, and we're at the air show, at the Sonoma County air show. And my grandpa, he was a pilot. That was one of the many things that he was going to do before actually going in as a firefighter. He wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. In which, that didn't really work out, and he went to the fire department, but we've always loved being around airplanes, and when I was really young, my grandpa would take me up in a plane and with my dad, and we'd fly around and, go out to the bay and back, and I'd fall asleep in the plane.
Oh, really?
It's one of the coolest things ever. I remember it really well, and always get a little pin every time we go there.
That's such a fun memory.
And my grandpa, he had a plane for a long time. It was a Centurion P210, so it's a high-performance, complex, single-engine Cessna. And we did a lot of flying that together. We had a lot of really great trips.
Do you have memories of flying over vineyards and flying over the ocean and all of those things?
Oh, yeah. We did a lot of flights over the ocean, over vineyards. And so that's one of the things I wanted to do was get my pilot's license, and it was it's one of those times where he's like, hey, look, you want to go get your license? And I was like, sure. And so we just started kind of pursuing that, and I did get my my general aviation pilot's license. That was in 2000.
Oh, wow. Well, but you're Jason, you're definitely the quintessential wine family growing up around vineyards. Growing up above vineyards as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I have another photo. It's the RC helicopter. Can you tell us about that? We may not have a photo of it, but I understand it's a hobby.
Yeah, so, not having a whole lot of time to go fly around and rent an airplane, I started flying RC airplanes and helicopters.
And
That's
that's
Lucas and I, and it's just one of those fun things to do. That's at Wine Country Flyers. That airfield right there, that was when we were at Trinity. We had a field out there. It's up there for a number of years, and yeah, it's a good hobby. It's a lot of fun to do, and yeah, it's still it's something that makes me happy. And
So
if you can't just go fly,
What's an RC?
yeah, radio control.
Okay.
Radio control.
Radio control.
Yeah.
I think that's
so.
super
That I mean,
cool.
it's one of those fun things to do.
Good.
It's-
That goes
you
back
can't-
again to the way you grew up. You grew up in a vineyard rural environment where you can do things like that. So that's pretty cool.
And are you involved in drones also?
I've flown
Not yet, but
drones.
yes,
Sure.
drones.
Now,
Yeah.
did you
Yeah.
notice the
It's
title
not a
of your
big thing.
Did you notice the title of your episode? It said "Fight or Flight." So we've talked about
see
the
that.
flight. We talked about the flight. Now I had no idea that you are a Taekwondo
Yeah.
person as well.
Yeah. So I started. That's one of the things. So when I started working at Boleto Vineyards, so in 2003, my family sold De Loach Vineyards. I went to work at Boleto.
Were you in production?
In production. I was there as a cellar master, and and that was a picture of me with my Taekwondo instructor Master Siegel, and actually I earned my 3rd degree black belt. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
that,
That's a big deal.
It's been 2 years now. Time's gone by really quick, but yeah, I
Oh,
worked
that was
really
only
hard for
2
that.
years ago.
That was only 2 years ago.
Wow. I guess if I'd known that, I probably would have not gotten upset a few harvests in there. Of course, he's not going to lose his temper.
No,
With
I
the-
don't lose my temper. No, it's just
That is
it's
super
it's one of those
cool.
fun things to do. It's a way of exercising and doing something different, and yeah. So I started doing that around 2003, and
Wow.
just kind of stuck with it,
I had no idea.
And both my boys do it. Yeah,
Actually, well, and didn't you say that one of your sons is doing
yeah.
the Taekwondo?
Lucas is testing today.
So this leads me to my next question, which is, I, as everyone knows, I'm just home sheltering with my cat and getting by and all those things. But here you are, you're in charge of a large production facility, 25,000 cases. That's sizable. Is that your production?
Yes,
You're overseeing vineyards as well. I know you have a management company, but still, you're.
that's I've picked
you're-
that up over the
you're
last
in
couple of years a
charge.
lot more.
I mean, you're in charge of all that, and I assure you that is a huge responsibility. It's not an easy job, and it can be a little bit stressful, especially as harvest approaches, and it's here. And you have 2 kids
Yes.
who you're homeschooling right
Yep.
now,
Yeah,
presumably.
my wife and I are homeschooling our boys.
And your wife is also working at Rodney Strong.
She's working at Rodney Strong
So
full time.
how on earth do
Yeah.
you two do this? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's definitely not ideal. I've been at home 3 days a week working remotely. The good thing is we have a really great production team. So as long as we keep the communication open and we know what we're trying to do, it's we're able to accomplish a lot of the things that we normally would. It's just very different.
Well, you've hired a very good staff.
Yeah, and then my wife is at home 2 days a week, so I could be at the winery those days. And then now we've actually had to hire a nanny to help us out. So,
Jason's on the production side, and his beautiful wife Nicole is on the business side, the financial side.
Yes.
Actually, so well, that's good. It would be hard if you're both in finance or production.
oh,
At least you've got.
yeah, I couldn't imagine it.
And so, you're really having to juggle schedules then? I
We
assume,
are.
with the boys
Yeah,
and.
we
And
are.
how old are your boys?
Lucas is about to turn 9 in October, and Matthew just turned 5.
Wow.
Yeah, so Lucas started 3rd grade distance learning, and Matthew started kindergarten distance learning.
Well, here's to you for being a great dad and a great winemaker, of course.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
And this 2019, what do you think, Jacques?
Yeah, it is so young, fruitful. How is that going to evolve? Because It's a year old, about, right?
Yeah, so we actually just bottled this at the end of July, early August. So it's newly in the bottle. That was one of the biggest things is all of our bottling. It actually had to be pushed into July. We had our March bottling.
Yeah, because it's an early
We
harvest.
had a June bottling because of COVID.
Oh,
Because of COVID,
Okay,
and we didn't know what was
so-
going to happen. So we actually compacted all of our bottlings into July.
Oh,
not
because of COVID.
Yeah, hoping that things would improve and we'd be able to escalate. So,
But was it because you had the line there and you needed to take advantage of
yes,
the? So, and you have a bottling line that comes in, correct?
we do. Yeah.
And it's most wineries do bring an outside bottling line in, and it takes a lot of coordination because you need to, it's not just getting the glass and the corks and making sure all the supplies are there, but you're coordinating all the people. But I think the most stressful time as a winemaker is bottling because it's your last chance to get everything ready, last chance to blend. What do you think? A lot of winemakers say that.
Yeah, it was like an 11,000 case run, and we had 15 different items.
That sounds stressful to me.
So, yeah, there was definitely a lot of coordinating involved, but honestly, all in all, it went really smoothly. I mean, that's the biggest thing is just advanced planning and making sure we have everything lined up and ready to go, and we have a great production team. So we were ready to roll with it. I mean, it's like I said, it's not an ideal situation. It's not something we'd normally do, but it worked out. It worked out really
that's
well.
what
It just shortened the amount of time that we had to get ready for harvest, and then and we
Right.
rolled right into harvest pretty quickly.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
this year is a very early harvest, but it's the coordination that it takes to set up what you set up with 11,000 cases and 15 lots. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 15 items.
It's a lot of work.
It's
it's a
the
lot of work.
packaging, all the different SKUs and the wines and but we had it stacked up just
No,
right.
good job.
It worked out.
Well, and we have to, with COVID, with any market upheaval, we have to change with the times and do what needs to be done
Yes.
to produce a great product. But honestly, this is fabulous. And
Yeah,
normally,
the Chardonnay's turned out wonderful. It's
it's had a little bit of time in the bottle.
had a little bit of time in the bottle. We did a great job building it. It's designed to be a really well balanced wine, right? Roughly 25% wood. Typically, it's in barrel, around 10 months. And we're not trying to over accentuate the butter characteristics. We're not trying to over oak it. It's just trying to find that nice middle ground balance, mostly showcasing the fruit, and then texturing the wine a little bit with stirring the barrels. We're only doing that once a month, and then complementing with around 25% French oak barrels.
When was the last time you stirred a barrel? I'm just curious.
When was the last time I stirred a barrel? A couple of months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah,
Just a test, just curious.
I guess you didn't, huh?
yeah. No, we have another wine, our Four Rose Chardonnay. It's a four barrel selection, and we're stirring those barrels every 10 days, so every 2 weeks.
So stirring the barrels is just for those of you who may not know, that's what we refer to as surly, and its secondary fermentation is malolactic. And by stirring the barrels or stirring the leaves in the barrels, it's to give the Chardonnay a richer texture and
texturing,
mouthfeel.
yeah.
And so that means you have a reserve Chardonnay, that obviously.
We do, yeah.
And it's
yeah,
called
that's
Four
another
Rose.
tier, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and
that's-
so how many Chardonnays do you have?
We make our single vineyard designate Chardonnay. So we have our estate Chardonnay. We do a third alarm Chardonnay, which is essentially a reserve. We do Aquarius Ranch Chardonnay, single vineyard designate, and then we do our Four Rose Chardonnay.
Oh wow. Okay. This is delicious. And
So this is our estate Chardonnay, 2019 estate.
So Station 10, well, obviously you know what Station 10 is, sure. But somebody from San Antonio,
oh
Shelley.
my gosh, Shelley, how fun. You just opened the Station 10.
that's
so,
super cool.
So we have a fan of Hook and Ladder
Yeah.
in San Antonio, my home state of Texas.
Me too.
Yeehaw!
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
Station
There's
10.
Texas, yes.
Yeah, so my grandpa, when he was in San Francisco, that was the firehouse that he was at, Station 10,
Okay.
Presidio and Bush. And during his time there, he was the Tillerman, which is another wine that we'll try as we go down the lineup. It's a cab-based blend. So Station 10, it's a Zinfandel blend, Zinfandel, Carignan, Alicante, Petit Syrah, and a little bit of cab.
Are you done with this? I don't know why I'm
done with that.
asking.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's a really
wow.
fun wine. It's it's another blend.
Well, it's fun that
Kind of opposite.
Shelley.
You got the cab-based blend, the Tillerman, and then the Zinfandel-based blend, Station 10.
Well, it's super fun for all of you out there to open wine while you're listening to the winemaker describe what's happening. And Jason is what I would describe as a frontline winemaker because you are very hands-on. I know that because I'm there all the time checking on grapes. And you're typically not sitting in an office. You are when you have to be, but not because you want to be. That's
Yeah, I
how I
mean-
would describe you based on my.
For me, it's really good because, I could spend the time that I want to in the office, doing my thing in there. But when I want to get up and move, it's anything I want to do. If I want to go out, drive the bin turner and turn some bins, I could do that as long as I want. Weigh fruit, separate it,
It's nice to take a break.
join in, do some shovel out some tanks. It's just
I know. It's a nice, it's
I
a
always
nice
try to
break.
do as many as I can every year.
It's a very nice break.
I'm interested also in knowing, the paperwork part of it.
Yes.
Is that getting better, worse, the same?
It's more paperwork than
more?
people
There's
realize.
a lot.
It's a lot of paperwork.
There's an astronomical amount of paperwork involved.
There is because because
Yeah.
alcohol is a regulated industry, and plus once after Homeland Security got involved, we had to start tracking our yeast slots, and
The yeast,
yes,
so they can
You know
trace
it.
back?
You knew
all of
about
our,
that,
yeah,
right?
all of our additions are all of our additions that we make are logged. Yeah.
Wow.
is there other paperwork maybe I should know about?
Other paperwork other than that, yeah. I mean, other than when you
It's-
weigh the fruit, it's all documented, right?
Yeah.
You have your
Are you
your
the-
weight
are you the
tags.
weighmaster?
Yes, I am.
I'm
There's
here.
two
Here's
weighmasters.
the
John
weighmasters.
Wolfel and I are, who's also a winemaker at Hook and Ladder. We're the only two weighmasters.
I'm the only weighmaster.
Yeah, you don't want too many hands in that,
No.
What's a weighmaster?
You're the only one who can sign a weigh tag. You theoretically should be the one. You're weighing the fruit.
You're weighing it. Yeah,
It's a
you
big-
could
it's a
have
big
somebody
deal,
that
though.
like writes it down, but at the end, it's your signature
your
that's
signature.
on it. So
Got
it all has to stack up
Yeah,
perfectly.
you have to take it seriously, and it's
Yeah.
like our scales are certified, and that's important because when a grower or when even internally you're dropping off fruit, you want to make sure they're accurate. So yes, we are just so everybody knows, it's like a really, really big deal to be a weighmaster.
Because you both
It's a
are.
huge
is that what
deal.
you
Yeah, there's that.
Exactly,
There's
huge.
there's weighmaster certificates that are issued for the fruit that you weighed, right? And then there's the production record, which is created off of that, which is essentially the beginning of all the wines that you're building.
Yeah.
And that goes to the lab. And then from there, we're able to look at the wines and start our adjustments. And it's just, that's the beginning of all those wines. And everything that trails from that, there's an associated paper trail. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of,
Yes, I'm assuming
Paperwork
so they
involved.
can
lot.
reconcile the amount of wine from
We
how
can-
much came in at
we
fruits. right?
know
and so
exactly what we
Yeah,
have and
yeah.
what's been done to it,
Makes sense.
essentially.
Have you tasted this yet, Jacques?
This is,
This
this
is
is such a
delicious.
great wine. I want
Lori,
to
would
eat
you
something
like
with it,
some?
but unfortunately, we don't have anything to eat right now.
We will. I'm going to briefly mention that Jason's uncle Michael is sort of the puppet master in the back, overseeing everything, and his lovely wife Lori would love some Pinot.
Yes,
Here you go, Jacques.
excuse me for.
Yeah.
So
It's a family. It's a This filming is a family operation.
Yeah, so the Third Alarm Pinot, it's our reserve wine. It's a 12 barrel
So good.
selection. Usually we're trying to push around 30% new French oak. And typically that wine is in barrel for around 11 months.
So
Yeah.
did this one get shortened just a little bit?
No, it did not.
So you just bottled this?
We just bottled it.
Like how long ago?
It was with the Chardonnay too. Yeah, so we bottled all
Wow.
those wines. That was right at the end of July.
So we're tasting this, and this is the worst it will ever be because it was just bottled. It's only going to get better than this. It's really
only going to get
delicious.
better.
It is.
Worse.
So I
One
say-
way to express it. I will suggest.
Jason, I'd love to
it's
say.
tremendous. It will get even better.
I say to people, if for some reason you don't like it, it's bottle shot. You'll like it. You'll like it eventually.
No,
but
this wine is showing
This is so good.
awesome right off the bat. So, yes, the consensus is that as it starts to rebound in the bottle, it will continue to evolve and it'll showcase much better.
Now, do you
Absolutely.
choose the 12 barrels, or they?
We do.
Out of all, you take all your lots and you choose the best.
Yeah. So
Your favorite
essentially,
12 barrels?
we're taking the vineyards that ultimately are our best vineyards. In this case, it's a Stagman Ranch vineyard. It's over on Trenton Road. It's a 6-acre piece. The barrels are primarily selected from that vineyard.
Well, and
Yeah.
again, we've talked about this a little bit before, but there can be, as wine's a living, moving thing, and there can be barrels from one lot, and for some reason, there can be an exceptional barrel within that lot.
Yeah, I mean there could be
How does that happen?
same
do you think?
same
the
type
exact
of
same
barrels,
cooperage.
same cooperage side by side, and one can be extremely integrated and showcases the wine really well, and the other, the oak is the dominant feature. It's not showcasing the fruit component as much. And
I guess.
I don't really have a solid answer for why that is, but the reality of it is when we're building wines like this, you do have to taste barrel by barrel and actually select them, hand select the barrels to design that wine.
That's what
Yeah.
I love about wine. I always talk about the history, the romance, all those things, but it's crazy. You think about, each piece of wood with the tree, each grape, every single moving part is something that's alive and different, and that's what makes wine so fun, I think.
It is fun, yeah.
And,
Really
It
fun.
can be a lot of fun.
Do you identify the barrels before? I mean, what do you look for? When you
Yeah, well,
sniff the barrel, and I've sniffed barrel.
yeah,
okay.
no. So I mean, we have a really broad barrel program that we've kind of tracked year after year. So we know what barrels have historically integrated the best or given us the profiles that we're
That's
looking
the
for,
key.
right?
Yeah.
And we also know which vineyards have given us the best outcome with that. And so,
and I think what you're saying is like certain barrels are better with certain vineyards.
yeah,
So-
exactly. And in which case, so throughout the process, as we start issuing the different barrels for when we fill them from individual lots, I have in mind a target, right? I know later in its lifetime,
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to look for, right? So you're building your toolbox
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And that's something we refined over many years. I mean, originally in 2006 when I started working at Hook Ladder and making wine, we had an established barrel program. A lot of those barrels came from our De Loach program and how it integrated into the wines that we're building, and we continue to do that as part of our protocols, but over time also doing small trials and kind of massaging that around, especially as the tiers evolved, the different tiers for Hook and Ladder. And so that's the thing, is we have a really well-established barrel program, and we know historically what vineyards are going to give us a particular outcome, and that's where those barrels are going to go. And when we build them, you hope, that's
Yeah.
you're going to find what you're looking for, and we do.
Now I know you've worked for some pretty well-known winemakers in the past. Well, you were at De Loach, correct? Didn't you work for under Dan Cederquist?
Yeah, Dan Cederquist. So I worked with Dan Cederquist. I started full-time in production in '98,
Oh.
right after
How
high school.
old were you? I was going to say
Yeah,
that's crazy.
18. So I
You
moved
started
in.
at
I moved
18?
in with my grandpa, and I we would ride to work together in the morning. Yeah, Dan Cedarquist was the winemaker there, and Dan's a wonderful, wonderful guy, and he consults for us now at Hook Ladder. And he also consulted at Boletta when I was at Boletta.
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
Yeah,
He's
and the thing
very,
of it
very
is
well
when I
respected.
started at Hook and Ladder in 2006, production-wise, I really had that under control. That's one of those things I could just roll with. But then all the fine details of winemaking and designing and Dan was really instrumental in helping us to evolve to where we are now. And, that was really key, and it's great. We still have him. He consults, and if we're in a bind, it's just a good resource to have.
Well, and you started as a cellar master.
Yes.
So that's how I started actually as well. But you started as a cellar master, so the orchestration of production comes easily to you. So
Right.
So from Dan and maybe some of the other winemakers you worked with through the years, that you start learning the more of the artistic part of it.
Yeah,
and
Boletto, working with Dutton Goldfield, Jeff Mangahas, and
Jeff, what a great guy.
Jeff's a great guy, and I learned so much from him, and is really influential in a lot of things that I've adopted.
Well-
My approach to wines. So
Well,
it's-
I personally love the apprenticeship approach to learning about winemaking, because it's completely different than the Davis or Fresno State situation. Only in that you're learning hands-on, and it's not theoretical from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we have some.
it's worked out in my benefit.
Oh yeah.
It's a good opportunity.
Well, you're talented. You do a good job. I think we have a film of you at work. Here you.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a Zinfandel vineyard. That's the old vine Gambogi.
Oh, yeah, 1880, is that it?
Those were planted early 1900s.
Yeah, okay.
That picture, that's when we're going to taste that wine that we're going to. That's Four Rose Cabernet Franc. Those are the rows that were out there.
Oh,
That picture, I was actually doing a blending seminar. We were recreating the Tillerman Red with a lot of people. That was a lot of fun.
wow.
Yeah, barrel tasting weekend.
Yeah.
That was a while back. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cute.
And that, I think that's Matthew.
Now,
We're
you're
just
supposed
walking
to
down the
fake it,
vineyard.
just say, "Oh, that's Matthew."
Yeah, the blonde-haired guy.
Oh, it looks like Susie from there.
Oh, that's right. I was there for barrel tasting. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, those are all fun. That vineyard. I
Yes.
just joined that. So I drove out there early in the morning, and that was kind of one of the things I just wanted to do is join in on a pick. Yeah, so I just found the first tractor group that I could find, the picking group, and just rushed through and picked that vineyard out. And then
Like today?
no, that was a while back,
Oh,
and
okay.
then and then I drove back to the winery and started weighing the fruit as it showed up. That was fun. That was so much fun.
It is. Well, when you have a production background, it's fun. It's silly, but it's fun. I was excited a couple mornings ago. They sort of prioritized me a little bit because since I can drive a forklift and the winery is
You got
only
prioritized.
5 minutes from here. Well, it's because I could unload the truck at 5 a.m. And
Yeah.
I just drove over. I mean, I could have stayed up all night drinking and walked over there in like 7 minutes. I'm just saying, if I wanted to be totally responsible. The point is that it's fun. That it's weird. You get the fun part is doing silly stuff like unloading the truck.
The
or
production
racing
aspect
back
is
and-
by far the most fun. It
It is. It's a fun part of the job.
one of my favorite things to do during harvest is run the bin turner. I could turn bins all day long. I don't know what it is.
that's
I
crazy.
love doing it.
We won't.
I know.
And
I don't want to know.
I love very much doing punch downs. Very much.
I love punch downs.
And,
I love them too.
And working on draining and pressing projects. I love shoveling out tanks.
You know, I have
I love it.
not. I haven't shoveled in a while.
You need to
I
do
should-
it.
I know. I'll do it. I will do it
Coming
this
up.
harvest.
Okay.
I know. Maybe I'll shovel the first tank.
Yeah,
just
well,
like some giant
text me
Merlot.
a picture of the progress.
Oh my gosh, and speaking of photos, I missed a great opportunity, but Jason, I always get my first photo with Jason at the beginning of every harvest.
We've done
And
that
I
for
should
years.
have, for years. It's
Yeah.
always the first photo of harvest. So So we'll have to do a. You'll need to come back just so that we can show photos of us through the years. Cause
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
It's been. How long have we been working together? It's been a long time.
I honestly,
Gosh.
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. So
Can I go back to the 1880, because I'm a big Zinner.
The
For
ni-
those from
1900s,
Texas,
yeah.
we had a group in Austin called the Original Zinners.
Oh,
for
yeah.
at least 20 or 30 years. It's still going on. Anyway, so what do you do? Is that like a wine club primarily, release? You make the Zin from that old vineyard?
Yeah, the Gambogi vineyard. We're doing a single vineyard designate. Yeah, a Zinfandel single vineyard designate. During the De Loach days, my grandpa, he had a lot of single vineyard designate.
I know, I drank
is,
a lot of
is
them.
this
Yeah.
the vineyard that your Hook and Ladder owns? The
So-
Gambogi?
Yeah, so my family, we've been farming that since the early 70s. And it is one of the original old vine Zinfandel pieces that my grandpa started farming, other than the piece that he bought, which is Barbieri Ranch.
How about the area also?
Yeah.
I mean, I know all
big.
these were all from De Loach, right?
And that's all Pinot now.
Yeah.
That vineyard's all Pinot.
Is it?
It is.
I remember asking
Yeah.
if I could get some of the Gambogi. The answer was no.
Yes, it was.
Well, I think it was a logistical issue.
Yeah, it was. It's
It's
fine.
not like I didn't want to
Hey,
give it
can
to you.
I know.
I do whatever I
want
can
to.
for you, but
I know. When you see a vineyard,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty special.
yeah, it is. It's got a really great history.
Should we try? So we saw Jason doing a blending. Was it a blending seminar?
I
for-
did, yeah. It was like a wine club event thing that we did, and we have the Tillerman Red right down there.
Oh, perfect. Let's try it.
Open?
Oh yes.
Yeah, we could move on to the Tillerman.
It's already open, okay.
It's all ready to go. And so, essentially what we did is we set it up so that way our wine club members could come in, and we actually pulled barrel samples of Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, Sangiovese, Merlot. And I wrote it all out on a chalkboard. This is what we're going to try to do. And it started off, we'd evaluate the individual components. I gave an example of how we like to build it, using Cab as the base component. And then just let people experiment, trying to create their own Tillerman Red. And so they designed their own Tillerman Red. They broke it down.
What a fun idea.
They broke it down so that way then they could use a graduated cylinder and build it, their bottle, as an individual, utilizing those percentages. And then we bottled it. And then we bottled it for them. We ran it through the corker.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was super cool. And then they could take a pen and write their percentages down on the
Oh
bottle.
wow.
That was really fun.
Is this like an annual thing you do?
It has not been annual, but I'm certain at some point it will be
What a
that
fun
way.
idea.
Yeah.
Now, how do people become members of your wine club? Can they go to your website? Just
They
talking about it.
they could go to the website. They could go to the
Very
website, I
nice.
believe. If not, right there at the winery, they could just fill out a form.
well, that's a fun idea. I should think about wine club activities. So bad
That
about it.
yeah, that was. I actually had a great time doing that one. It worked out good. It's just everybody's enthusiasm and really excited about the wines that they're building. It was fun.
What do you
And that's
think?
also where you realize how complicated it is, right? I mean,
Oh,
just
to blend that people
to
don't
blend it and say,
understand.
here's
Yeah,
what's
it's
going to
hard.
be the result. Okay.
Yeah,
Right now,
to-
if it's 1 or 2 bottles, but anyway, it's going to be 5,000 gallons. That's a
Yeah,
different.
to build a wine that especially a blend that works and doesn't seem awkward or it takes on a smaller scale quite a bit of trial
Right.
in the lab and we like to figure it out.
Here it
Yeah,
is.
so another round of barrel tasting weekend.
This is the
that
hospitality
looks
side.
that was so we're doing an event right there. That was a wine club event.
Oh,
That's
there's
my wife,
Nicole.
Nicole.
Yes.
The beautiful woman with red hair sitting next to me.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Very
really
cool.
great events.
What a nice facility too.
That is a big, look.
Oh, look,
Doing
he
a
has
tour
huge
around the
press.
production.
Yeah.
It's a 7.5 ton pneumatic press, and right next to
Yeah.
it was a 5 ton. Just trying to explain the basic flow of our harvest, how it kind of works. What's really fun is when you walk out on the crush pad and you have all the equipment out, right? you know, we're in the middle of it, or we're getting started, and you know, there's a lot more action. There's a lot more to see.
Wow, I've never seen you without a hat on.
Yeah, well, because you always see me kind of like in work
I
mode,
know, always.
which I wear a hat. Yeah,
Wow,
I thought about combing my hair today, but it just didn't work out.
you're just a little busy.
I was like, whatever.
It's fine. It's fine. This Tillerman is delicious. Aromatically, I get a lot of the Cab Franc. I think that Cab Franc does that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something-
It definitely sticks out a little bit. It's a cab-based blend, so you know, kicking a little bit of Cabernet Franc. Yeah, you just kind of get that
Now-
upfront red fruit characteristic.
Earthiness a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit
can we
earthiness.
talk? I'm
The
gonna.
Merlot pulls in the mid palate, brings in some of the red and black fruit characters, and the Sangiovese is the same. It's raspberry, strawberry.
Oh, there's Sangiovese in here.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Cabernet
it's
Franc,
Cabernet,
Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Sangiovese, and Merlot.
and Merlot.
Mm-hmm.
So my current vintage
Yeah.
of Sangiovese is the last vintage I was able to get from you, because it got converted to Pinot Noir. But it's honestly one of my most popular wines. So, just so you know, I'm not. No, don't worry.
Yeah, we have such a small amount of Sangio now.
It's fine. I'm not complaining at all.
I feel bad. Like,
No,
like,
it's fine. It's fine.
I can sit on the
So
side for you.
I remember going up to check the Sangiovese vineyard, and I noticed that there were some rows that were blocked with like basically crime scene investigation tape or something like that. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was the first time I learned about your project, the 4 rows things that you were doing.
The 4 rows.
The 4 rows, and anyway, and we're
We'll
gonna
get to that.
we're gonna try that shortly.
So one
but-
thing to talk about is a Tillerman. So when my grandpa, his time as a San Francisco firefighter, he was a Tillerman. So he drove the tail end of the Hook and Ladder
Oh, is that
fire
what a
truck.
Tillerman is? I
Yep.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
the person
he
who
did that in the
drives
city.
the back of the truck to.
The
So he's
back
got
end.
his
Yeah.
own steering wheel, right? Because it's
Right.
so huge. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and so this was the first,
Yeah,
the first
tailored boat.
one of the
Yeah,
wines
okay.
that we built when we started Hook and Ladder. He wanted to build a blend, utilizing the fruit off the Los Amigos Ranch, and named it the Tillerman, to go with the whole Hook and Ladder winery theme, which is really cool.
And the vintage is 2016.
2016,
And does
and
it-
it's showing wonderful.
Do you take the fruit and make the best wine you can, or do you try to replicate the style?
So, both really. The answer is we will always, philosophically, we always will try to make the absolute best wine we can. Period. I mean that, we want it to exhaust every single scenario when we build our wines possible until we're happy with what we get. In addition to that, we do want to build a wine that's recognizable year after
Right.
year, that's brand specific. So it's kind of both, right? If we could build something that's representative, but also is a higher caliber, that's representative of a specific vintage, we'll do that. Absolutely.
I love that you're using the word build. I mean,
We're
that's a great
building.
I know it's great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
explain to people how you do that. How do you build a wine? Like,
Yeah.
how do you start with the whole process?
Yeah, so for a wine like this, the Tillerman Red, obviously the big thing is the individual components, right? So we do the Cab Sauv, the Cab Franc, the Sangiovese, the Merlot. Those are all individual varietals, fermented, totally
So-
separate.
And so, do you take them out of barrel to taste them, and
Yeah, so
basically?
like we were talking about before about the barrel program, it's the same thing. All those individual varietals have a tailored program of barrels, right? We build, our state wines, we build our Four Rose wines, we build our reserve wines. We kind of square that all up, but leave room to then build something like the Tillerman, right? We don't want to cut ourselves short too. So throughout the process, we'll be pulling barrel samples of all these individual wines, bring them to the lab, and then just trying to see where we land percentage-wise of the individual wines that we've created and how it goes together and build something like the Tillerman. And when we find a balance that works for us, then it's going to the individual barrel selection process. So then we'll pull all the wines out individually and then start going through them and tailoring the wine that way.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is you decide in general you decide first what the percentages will probably be, and then you go back.
We
and
have an
choose the
idea of what it
Right.
is historically. We have an idea what it is historically.
But then you even go back and choose specific barrels even for that program?
We will.
That's a lot of work.
We will.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's a lot of work.
We
How
do
long-
that.
how
We do
many-
that for every single wine that we build. It's the
Wow.
same kind of process.
Yeah, I do that too. That's what I do.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. So how much time do you think you personally spend in blending the Tillerman?
The Tillerman, I mean,
Because you must go back and forth and
we do. You know, it's one of those things. Like, usually when we're really into blending mode and we're trying to design our wines, it's really targeted, right? So every day something different. And we're going to be working with Chardonnays, or we're going to be working the Pinots, or we're going to be working, you know, with the reserve wines, or whatever the theme is. You know, we're trying to follow a time schedule to keep things going. But the Tillerman, you know, when we get to it, we could spend probably half a day, you know, just kind of messing with it. And sometimes, yes, you know, in the lab when we're working with it on a micro level or a much smaller scale, you know, we'll go through several versions of it until we're happy, and sometimes we'll sit on it and wait and then go back.
And so what Jason's talking about on a micro scale, and you sort of picture us putting large amounts of wine into a tank to decide what we want it to taste like when
Right.
we're actually using a, maybe 100 ml graduated cylinder.
That's
so
right.
we're
That's it.
basically blending into something that is, you know, a cylinder that has 100 mLs to determine the larger blends. But typically, once all the barrels are together for the base of the wine, it can change slightly. But it's amazing what happens with 100 mLs.
It could totally change slightly, and a lot of times, you know, we try to build in, you know, a little bit of room for error, right? You know, it's even though we're happy with what we've designed in the lab, and we go back and we start building our barrels and pulling out the individual lots, we might veer from that a little bit if what we're creating isn't good enough or up to par. It's not what we thought it was going to be necessarily. So, you know, leaving a little bit of room in that process is, I mean, it's certainly key, because you can't really go back, right?
No,
once
that's
it's
true.
blended,
Yeah, there's no going
tough to
back.
take
You can't really go back. So.
No going back. So let's go on to the 4 rows. This
Okay.
is I know this is near and dear to your heart. This is Jason's baby, right? At the winery.
It's-
the,
It's a bit of a baby, yeah.
well, it was your idea to do this,
well,
correct?
So the thing of it is actually my Uncle Mike, he came to me and
Uncle Mike, who's
Uncle
behind
Mike,
the
yeah,
scenes right
yeah.
now.
It was actually,
Beautiful
you know,
wife is right here.
it was one of those things where he's like, Jason, you got to build something like this. You know, you got to build this. You got to build a designer wine. I don't care what it is, but I need you to build something. And you know, I thought about it for a long
Now,
time.
he's referring to his uncle, who's Michael De Loach, Cecil's son,
Yep.
who was president and general manager, I believe, for
Yes.
quite a while, and
Yes.
is now he's doing all sorts of stuff. He's the busiest person I know in the wine industry. Your uncle is
he's doing his
honestly.
own projects, and
Oh my
he's,
gosh,
and he's
he's
doing awesome
awesome.
at it. And
He's awesome. He
it's-
is.
He's
But-
producing.
he's
Yeah,
producing.
but-
He's producing a
but
show.
Michael,
he had
your
a lot of
un-
these ideas.
But
you
your
know.
uncle's always been really creative, and
He's super
always,
creative,
He's always
yeah.
thought of new ways to do things
Yep.
and new wines to make. So he was the one who came to you with the 4 Rows project.
He approached. He told me that he wanted me to build a wine of a particular caliber, something that was more on a designer level, that we can create like an exclusive club from, and it couldn't.
Oh, you mean like a reserve club?
Yeah,
for
a reserve
members?
club, and it could not be like it couldn't be like what we were already doing. Like we were already doing the third alarm, we were already doing our estate wines, and we've already done some single vineyard designate wines. You know, we were doing a Cabernet Franc for the longest time. We still do that, and it was a popular item. I didn't want to build another
It's a heavy bottle.
third alarm. I didn't want to build, another necessary single vineyard designate. I wanted to take something that we had a following behind and see if we can elevate it, right? We could really accentuate it. What we found out is that we couldn't necessarily do that with what we had in-house. It really had to start from the vineyard. So from the vineyard, we had to go out and flag down some rows and spend a little bit of time out there.
And that's where you use the police crime scene tape?
Yeah,
To
that's
keep
right,
people like
the crime
me.
scene tape. And that
Keep people
component
like
was
me away from
Sangiovese.
it. Like, don't even think about it.
What we
You're
didn't
not
know
touching
is
this.
what we would utilize the Sangiovese necessarily for, right? So that's the beginning. So we picked these rows of Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc.
let me. I'm sorry. You may. I just want people to understand.
It's interesting.
So you would choose these 4 rows, and then those 4 rows would be farmed exactly the way you wanted them to be farmed.
Yeah, the first year, we spent quite a bit of time going out in the vineyard, just like fine tuning the vineyard.
Were
like,
you doing it yourselves?
yeah, we were doing it ourselves. Yeah,
and John?
so yeah, John and I, we spent all day out there. Yeah, just making sure that everything looked perfect in the vineyard. All the fruit was hanging just right. There's anything that looked a little overcrowded, we'd drop it out.
So they're out there with probably pruning shears, getting
Shears.
rid of, making sure that it has good exposure.
Good
right amount of
exposure, right amount of
leaves, all
fruit. Yeah, we were
And
pulling leaves, we were dropping
choose
things.
the section, I noticed with, just from being out there meddling around, I noticed that you would choose some of the hillside or you would choose certain areas that you like the best.
Yeah, with the Sangiovese, it is up on that hillside. But we also picked, like I said, we picked Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and we did Merlot as well. The idea is that we had blending tools for the Cabernet Franc. We had something that we could work with to ultimately create a more superior Cabernet Franc. And I didn't want to box us into a corner where we only had the one varietal, so we did all those varietals. So we had the tools, and we treated those all the
Tools
same.
including your
Yeah.
pruning shears too.
And then years after that, we would go out there with Guillermo, right? And we'd show him, hey, look, this is the rows that we have. Let's make sure it looks this way.
Guillermo's like the right-hand ranch person who would oversee.
And we've
what's
been doing
happening in
that. So
vineyards.
the first year was 2012, and the wine that we built was really rough around the edges, really hard. When we bring the grapes into the winery and process them, we were doing them in open top fermenters, and then bleeding off the juice shortly after processing.
What were you doing with the blood off juice?
We were off record. We're moving it down to other wines.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
just disappear.
so you'd crush the fruit.
Being
and
creative.
There's a term called there's a term called Saignée that is used for making rosé, and you bleed the juice, and so the concept is that you want there to be a higher ratio of skin contact to juice because you have a smaller percentage of juice.
We're
in the
essentially
tank.
concentrating these
So you're
lots.
concentrating it.
And so we
exactly.
had all these tools built, and then we put them down to like 60% new wood, new French oak primarily. All these individual components and process them all separately. And then, for this project in particular, we were shooting for over 24 months in barrel. We knew that the wine had to be in barrel, for an extended amount of time. We were looking for integration.
So it's was it 60% new? Is that
Yeah.
is that what this is?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 66%.
really
new. So
good.
it's only 75 cases. Yeah, 2 brand new barrels, and
Wow, it
a
is so
second-year-old.
good. I don't think Jacques has used the word superb yet on this.
No, I've not.
You haven't.
This is wow.
Actually, it was the first time I've heard you say "wow" too.
And so the label, though,
This is, I mean, Jason,
I'm
you
not
hold a
to
very
charge
high
more than
honor.
anything.
the label's kind of fun. We threw out a lot of different names. Eventually, we landed on 4 rows, and 4 rows for us, it keeps the exclusivity to it. It keeps the small production feel to it. It's kind of an isolated thing. My Uncle Mike and my Aunt Lori, they went down to San Francisco the San Francisco ladder shop in the
Is
city.
that what I was trying to figure that out?
And so it's all these wood ladders in there that they refurbish and they use within the different fire departments. You can see like the little symbol on the side ladder, San Francisco Fire Department.
Did you and Mike? Lori's in
Wow.
in the courtyard.
They went
of this.
down there.
Did, oh, you did.
They went
You
down
took
there,
that
and
photograph?
Lori actually saw that shot. They were moving ladders all around. She's like, "That's it." Yeah, that's it. And so we've stuck to this
Well,
label.
you're
We've
welcome to
adopted to
come.
other ones.
To join us. Yeah, that is beautiful.
It's really cool. And we've created a 4 Rose wine club from that. Because I made those individual components, we've also made a capsaw of a Merlot, right? And we've done a Pinot. We've done a Pinot Noir and a Chardonnay, all in kind
You
of like
do a
this
4 Rose
more
Chardonnay?
elevated. Yeah, we do a Chardonnay. We use Aquarius Ranch Chardonnay.
Didn't know that.
It's a 4-barrel blend. It's
you bottle the
50%
19?
new, 50% second-year wood.
If you bottled the 19.
No, no. That wine we'll bottle.
Jacques and I.
Darn,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Could have
we'll-
brought that one too.
Yeah, that's another time. Yeah, we're gonna bottle that in December.
Wow. So
Yeah,
did you make only 75 cases of all of these?
75 cases of the reds, and then the Chardonnay winds up being a little less than 100 cases by the time we get it
Wow,
in
this
bottle.
is super
So
special.
that's 3 barrels, right?
3 barrels for the reds, yeah, 4 for the
Well,
Chardonnay.
I would honestly,
And we do a Pinot.
I
too,
would
yeah.
highly recommend joining the 4 Rose Wine Club.
Yeah, so to join the 4 Rose Club, you have to join the Hook and Ladder Wine Club.
Yeah, well,
They
that's-
So
should
you join
have
Hook and
to.
Ladder, and then you
Yeah.
have access to 4
Exactly.
Rose.
You,
Yeah,
you
of
can't get a
course.
backstage pass
No,
just
no
by
backstage
getting
pass.
some general admission ticket, you know?
So that was the way. That's the way we designed these wines, and that was the
Wow.
whole idea of it. But it took us a long time to really get the hang of building these wines. You know, they've certainly evolved over the years. The Sangiovese that you're talking about, that wine, we really didn't know what we were going to do with it necessarily.
You just keep me from having it.
Yeah.
Other than that,
So we do it in the same style. We do Sauniers. We try to concentrate it and maximize our color. Really,
and
it's hard
Saunier
to.
again, he's talking about bleeding from the tank.
But we've used that to build our Brunello style Sangiovese. So that's another project. That's a project my grandpa wanted. He said, "Hey, I want you to build Sangiovese in the style of a Brunello." So it's 36 months in barrel, 100% Sangiovese.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've tasted that yet.
And so we use these rows that we've isolated, and that's the bulk of it.
Now, is that
Yeah.
something that you've actually bottled yet?
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
the first vintage of?
The first vintage, I think, was like 2013.
And
or
what is
14?
it called?
It's called it's called Prateria. It's called Prateria. It's a name. When we were designing this wine, my uncle Mike, he came up
That's
with.
another Uncle
Yeah,
Mike.
no,
the
yeah, well,
behind the scenes
Yeah,
guy.
we couldn't call it something. So he came up with all these different names, and
Wow.
we just kind of landed on one that sounded cool, that you could correlate, to the meaning of the ampersand, and make
Prateria?
it its own thing. Yeah, Prateria
Is
is
the
essentially Latin for ampersand. You could.
Prateria
It's-
is Latin for
It's
ampersand.
a very gray
Ew.
area, but yes,
Hey, Michael De Loach behind the scenes. That's really.
it's fun. It's a great
And
wine.
for those of you
Great.
who don't like to buy things you can't spell, I don't know, just think about that.
Prateria.
Isn't it with an A-E?
Prateerea.
Cool name. Huh. It's another Mike.
Something like that. I might have spelled it wrong.
Yeah, I think you did, but it's okay.
Yeah, you just make the wine up.
Prateria.
You just have to make it. Exactly.
That was a
That's-
fun one.
Wow.
We'd actually never tried a wine like that. We just kind of researched it and knew what we were trying to do.
Uh-huh.
And the outcome is exactly what we wanted.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's super
I actually
fun.
love
I
it.
can't
It's
wait
a great
to
one.
try it. And so is that something that people can get in the tasting room?
Yes, yeah, that's a wine that's only out of the tasting room.
And how many cases do you make?
We're a little under 25,000.
No, of
Total.
the Prateria.
Oh, Prateria. So Prateria originally it started off around 75 cases as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a lot of skiers to
So-
keep up with.
Yeah.
And,
And we beefed it up a little bit, but it's a small production, just like the Four Rose material.
But I think
Wines.
for our viewers is that when you think you got 2 or 3 years of different vintages to keep track of, all of a sudden it gets so complicated.
It is complicated.
There's a lot to look after. Yeah, but we have, like I said, we have a great winemaking team. You know, and, that's what's really important. You know, our cellar master Jesus and we've been working together since the early 2000s, and you know, John and I have been working together since 2006, and so it's having that super solidified group. You know, and Dan Cederquist has been very instrumental and helpful in a lot of that too.
And you
so
always
it's very
have
tight.
snacks during harvest.
We do. We have a lot of
I
snacks.
always drive by and grab snacks. Just grabbing snacks and running.
We got a fresh load.
You do? You have
Yes,
snacks
we do.
now?
And Gatorade. You got some
I know, I'm
Gatorade.
buying Chardonnay from them this year, but I've always enjoyed and appreciated the snacks. So
That's good to know.
yeah, you're a good boss. Definitely. So do you have any future ideas or new varietals or new
Oh man.
wines that you're working on right now?
No, I mean, I'm feeling pretty maxed out in terms of the wines that we're building. You know, it's just the thing of it is always trying to do better. You know, trying to figure out a better way, design better wines, and you know that's a constant evolving process, and you're always learning. You know, so we're always open to that and exploring new ways, and if it makes sense of what we're trying to do, we'll pursue those things.
Well,
So
and one thing that my perception of you has always been that I've sometimes described you as a technical winemaker because you are always learning, and you truly like to delve into you know, what's happening if a fermentation is stuck, or if you're trying. I mean, I am too neurotic to want to know why it's happening. You actually want to know why it's happening, you know, and it's interesting.
Yeah, we do. We try to break it down.
I know, and so Jason will get technical and say, "Well, it could be this." I'm like, "No, don't, I don't want to know. Please don't tell me." But you know, you get right to the point and you analyze everything. Yet you still have a very artistic approach, which is a wonderful balance.
Yeah, we're very proactive. That's the big thing too. It's very proactive in our approach and
proactive in that.
in the winemaking approach. And if we see anything that's not quite right, we'll try to remedy it as quickly as possible. You know, I think any winemaker would do that. I'm assuming, but yeah, I mean, it's always trying to stay ahead of it. You know, the best you can, and because ultimately we want all of our wines as these components to be perfect.
Yeah.
To be perfect.
Did you work with the Santa Rosa JCs?
No, I didn't. When I was at De Loach
Yeah.
Vineyards, I took viticulture with Rich Thomas when he was teaching at the junior college, and my grandpa took classes, and my uncle and my dad also took classes from Rich Thomas.
Yeah,
So that was my early experience with that.
Because I think they're doing a great job.
But I haven't done
certainly
anything
for
else.
Sonoma at the Santa Rosa Junior College here in Santa
Yeah,
Rosa.
no, you know, I've been
They do a
very
nice job.
focused on just what's happening at the winery.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's all I really have time for, and other than that, it's just trying to find free time to do things like RC airplanes or Taekwondo or whatever, and it's becoming less and less and less. But
Well,
we're making the best of it.
Well, it's very impressive what you've accomplished, what you've done, managing a family, having a pilot's license, and the Taekwondo thing. You know, a little badass. It's perfect. I love that.
It's fun.
And would you encourage your sons to go into winemaking? Do you think? Continue the
Yeah,
family?
I don't know. You know, it's one of those things. It worked out for me. You know, I was always captivated by wine production and everything that was happening at De Loach Vineyards, and I wanted to go with that, but you know, there's a lot of work. I don't know. I would want them actually to explore other options first, and then if they want to, they could come back to something like that. You know,
Well,
that's my initial feeling on it. So.
Well, you've done a fabulous job. I've always been impressed. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And I mean,
It's fun.
congratulations on getting a superb out of Jacques. That's a big deal. He
And,
tastes a lot
Appreciate
of
that.
And
wines.
we
great.
still have plenty left in that bottle. thank
I
goodness.
know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, you just start. I mean, it opens up. You know?
So I will encourage you to visit Hook and Ladder. Is the tasting room open now on weekends for outdoor
Well,
tasting? We're being safe.
It is, but currently,
Right. So
We're
if,
limited,
If
so.
you have an opportunity to visit Hook and Ladder, make sure that you join the wine club. So then you might have the opportunity to be part of the Four Rows exclusive membership. And Jason, again, thank you for being here. And
Thank you.
we will see you next week in the Courtyard. And until then, enjoy wine, enjoy life.